system. So it's very difficult for someone to just interfere and say, make sure that this one passes. It's going to be difficult.
How sure are you, and what assurance can you give Malawians that PPPC under your leadership has never and will not be used for political financing?
I can give 100% assurance to Malawians that the PPP process cannot be used to finance political systems. Why am I saying so? First of all, any decision to do any project has to be approved at various stages. The first stage is the Department of Economic Planning, which is the national clearing agency, where that says, okay, this project fits in with the national vision. This project is in line with our priorities. At the Commission, we cannot start working on a project until we get that nod from Economic Planning and Development. So, first of all, we know that that project is in line with the national vision. When it passes that, then our Act stipulates that the process has to be transparent. So we are not allowed just to go and pick one investor. So we have to advertise and call for proposals and take through a rigorous, evaluation process. That way, we make sure that we have the best proposals in place. It's not just a question of saying, well, we'll pick this company. It must go through a competitive process. And that way, we make sure that we're getting the best deal for Malawi.
There have been concerns and allegations in the past that major infrastructure projects tend to favor those that are politically connected. Is it true?
You use the word allegation.
Now, is it true on your part?
I would say no. I would say no. Someone has to give me evidence to say that PPP has done this project which is favoring a political connected.
So then, how transparent are you? And in this event, if I, an ordinary person, want to get involved in such partnerships, how transparent are you?
We are very transparent. Apart from the normal processes, we also do a due diligence on every investor that we are working with. We cannot sign a contract with you if you come forward until we have done a due diligence. We have to check, we have to make sure that we are insulated from issues of money laundering, for example. So there are a lot of checks in the process to make sure that we're not getting into a transaction with a dubious investor. If you have never done this project before anywhere in the world, we're going to raise question marks and say, what assurances do you have that you can do this? And then after passing through that, we make sure that the contract that we sign is watertight. It's got enough provisions to protect Malawi from any dubious transactions. So it's a very rigorous process. I can say 100% with confidence that we are insulated from that.
Speaking of investors, now that we are in a politically charged environment, some investors tend to hesitate, and maybe some are still hesitating to commit to long-term projects. Have you encountered this now that we are heading towards elections?
I would say that PPP transactions by their nature are long-term. Because under PPP, you are asking a private investor to raise money, come into the country, construct a public infrastructure, run it for 15, 20 years, so that they're able to make a return on their investment. So by their nature, they're long-term. And therefore, they cut across political cycles. This is why we have to make sure that the process is watertight, that we're not getting into a dubious investor. And that you've done the projections to make sure that we are not being duped.
Have you noticed any slowdown in investments?
I would say slowdown, but maybe for other reasons. I think at the moment, the big challenge we are facing is the current macroeconomic situation, particular issues around Forex. Investors are asking questions. If we raise money from outside and invest in this project, what guarantee is there that we'll be able to repatriate, our resources? So we are giving them the confidence that, we have enough, we have taken enough measures to make sure that, they're able to do that. But it's an issue that they keep raising. And therefore, government is keen to make sure that we improve the macroeconomic environment, because investors will not be keen to invest in a country that is not stable at the macro level. So that's an issue that's we're having to deal with. But despite that, we have seen investors coming in with billions of dollars into the country.
But then, apart from the economic environment, has the political environment affected this in any way?
I would say no. We have not seen any effect based on the political environment. I think we all know that Malawi is a politically stable country. This is a country where you're able to change governments without any problems. This is a country where the rule of law is prevailing. If the courts say, we're going to have a rerun, it happens. So the investors look at that and say, okay, this is a country which is stable politically, and we can be able to go and do business there.
As we're heading towards the polls in September, there's obviously uncertainty of a potential government change as we head towards September. How are you ensuring that ongoing projects do not collapse, much as you have these long-term contracts? Because we've seen scenarios whereby projects tend to stall eventually just because there was a change in leadership in government.
So under PPP arrangements, as I said, these are normally long-term projects. They can be 15, 20, 30 years. So by their nature, they are long-term, which means that they will survive several political governments. And that's one reason why they take a bit of time to craft, because you have to make sure that you are projecting into the future to say in 20 years' time, what are the things. So the contracts that we develop, that we sign, are watertight, and try to give confidence that in the next 10, 15 years, the things will be in place. In Malawi, I think one of the big pluses of Malawi is, as I said, is that the rule of law persists. Contracts are honored. The court system in Malawi is so strong that it can protect an investor. So there's no way where, for example, if the government changes, they can say, cancel this. If you cancel that, the contract gives protection to the investor, and there are consequences. It means that the investor has to be, compensated for that, which can be a huge cost to government. So there are those kind of provisions that make sure that these investments are protected. But the key thing is that Malawi is a country where there's rule of law. Contracts are honored and are respected by all parties, and the courts enforce those contracts.
In case you're just tuning in, this is NBC Exclusive. My name is Alina Femlamba, and my guest today is Mr. Patrick KABAMBE, the Chief Executive Officer of the Public-Private Partnership Commission, PPPC. I will be back after this short break. Welcome back to this edition of the NBC Exclusive. My name is Alina Femlamba, and we're continuing our conversation with the Chief Executive Officer of PPPC, Mr. Patrick KABAMBE. So let's look at one of the flagship programs PPP has managed to deliver to Malawi, and this is the Digital Malawi project. You faced constraints, yes, but then in as far as the second phase of the project is concerned, should Malawians anticipate another funding from the World Bank?
In fact, I would say yes, we already have funding in place. The new funding came into effect from 1st November last year. We now have a commitment from the World Bank for $150 million United States dollars to continue the work that was doing under the Digital Malawi project. We are also going to look at mobilizing additional resources from the private sector. we anticipate to raise an additional 15 billion from private sector, bringing the total package to about $200 million to be spent in the next 5 years. So it's going to be a huge undertaking. We really want to encourage the digital growth in all sectors of the country, supporting both the public and the private sector.
Let's look at the first phase. You faced challenges. What measures have you put in place to ensure that those challenges are not encountered during the second phase of the project?
I would say that the first phase was like a learning lesson. We learned a lot. We have to deal with the capacity of the service providers. Some of the things that we were demanding perhaps were unrealistic. We have had lessons, we know what to expect. And also in terms of the processing time, one of the things that we learned from last project was that we did the tenders rather late. So this time around, we want to do most of the work right from the word go, so that we don't lose time, so that by get year 2, year 3, people can already see the benefits on the ground.
But then critics argue that financial sustainability of this project is in the long run is not guaranteed. How do you respond to this?
I would disagree. What we're doing is to set the framework, put together infrastructure and policies in place that will ensure that the digital growth is running across the country. What we want to do is to ensure that the cost of providing digital services come down drastically. We've already seen the cost coming down, so we want to do more, and that way we can support all Malawians. You can agree with me that one of the challenges we've seen in Malawi all along is that if you go to public offices, be it immigration, road traffic, or whatever, and you want to get a service, quite often we hear the words, "Come back tomorrow. We have no network libe." That's what they use.
Yes.
And yet you go to the private sector, banks, places like those, network is always there.
But then several projects under PPP have stalled due to financial constraints. Should we say investors are losing confidence in your framework?
I would say no, not at all. The stalling of projects could be due to a number of reasons. And we must all accept that under the current economic environment, it's making investment decisions rather difficult. All the investors, when they come to negotiating, the first thing they ask is on the forex situation. They say, well, we bring our own money here. What guarantees are there that these resources, that we'll be able to get our money back at the end of the day? So it's a question that they're raising. But we've given enough assurances that government is working tirelessly to make sure that these economic challenges are being resolved.
But then we are not out of the woods yet in as far as issues of forex are concerned. What measures have you put in place to ensure that these investors still come in much as we have this challenge at hand?
So the way we are looking at it is to look at the project by project case. Some projects will have the potential of generating forex. So if the project is able to facilitate exportation of services, we know that it will generate forex, and that forex will help to give confidence to the investors that through that forex that they're generating, they'll be able to get their money back. So we look at the project by project case and put in measures that make sure that the investors' interests are protected. And I must say that the Minister of Finance, the Reserve Bank of Malawi are very supportive because we know that we need this investment. So they are doing everything they can to make sure that the investors are protected and given confidence that when it comes to getting back the investment, that will be protected.
Let's look at the Mpatamanga Hydropower project, which was expected to significantly improve electricity supply in the country, but then progress has been sluggish. Why is it so?
So I would say that it has taken a lot longer than we had thought. This project started some years ago, but the fact of the matter that this is a very complicated and a massive project. You're talking about a project that will cost 1.4 billion US dollars.
You're saying it is complicated?
It's complicated, it's complex. Right. And therefore we needed to have a lot of studies, a lot of expertise to do the assessment so that they design infrastructure that will be best for Malawi, that will stand the environmental challenges, and that can be affordable to Malawians. So that process took longer. There have been a lot of studies. Environmental studies have just been completed. The geotechnical studies, to make an assessment even to the rocks there, to say, okay, if this kind of rocks, what kind of steel do you have to put in there to put up this dam? You really have to do a lot of work to make those assessments. So all that work has been done. We're now in a place whereby we should be able to see now actual work starting on the ground.
When should we expect this to start?
So at the moment, as we speak, the process of procuring what we call EPC tenders, EPC contractors, these are companies that are actually going to do the construction is in process. We have shortlisted companies from all over the world. They are going to put in their proposals by July, August this year.
Do Malawians stand a chance? Because there have been concerns that they are often sidelined when it comes to major projects.
No, the chance is there. There's a law in place, the NCIC law, which says that for all construction projects, a certain percentage has to be done by Malawians. So we will make sure that law is respected. However, as I said, this is a very complex project, highly technical. It's possible that maybe we may not be able to have enough Malawians meeting that criteria, but we'll make an assessment at that point. But we are going to go by what the law says. The law says that Malawians must be able to take part in these projects.
Malawi needs a lot of projects that ought to be completed, and this is one of the projects that is key in as far as development of the country is concerned. What assurance are you giving Malawians that this project will not be stuck in the feasibility negotiation or the stage that it is as of today?
I can say that the amount of work that has gone to date is massive. The hours that we have spent in negotiations, in drawing up agreements, has been a lot. We already have investors in place. International companies from France and Netherlands who are already in Malawi now. The Patamanga Hydro Company Limited is already established in Malawi, working on this project. For sure, they cannot come here to this country spending money and without assurance that it will start off. So I can give assurance that everybody is committed to this project. This project will be a game changer. It's going to be something that Malawi has never seen before. So we are committed to make sure that this is done on time.
How independent is your commission from political pressure?
That's an interesting question. Well, we say that we are independent. However, as I said, every project that we do must be aligned to the national priorities, the national vision. If a project is not aligned to that, we will not start. So that gives us the confidence that that project is not politically connected, but it's aimed at addressing the priority needs of Malawi. Malawi has this Malawi 2063 blueprint. So every project we do must be fitting with that.
Are you fitting it? Are you fitting these projects to the 2063 blueprint or political needs?
The first thing to check before we start the project is how it's aligned to the 2063. Political considerations are not part of our agenda. But of course, we know that every government, when they come, they have certain aspirations, certain pledges that they want to achieve in the 5 years. And indeed, some of those projects in the 5 years can only be done through PPP arrangements. So yes, we do respond to the needs of the political government of the day. But we know also that the political aspirations are also aligned to the Malawi 2063. So I don't think there's a conflict there.
Mr. KABAMBE, it was nice having you in this edition.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we've come to the end of this edition of MBC Exclusive. My name is Alina Femlamba, and my guest today was Mr. Patrick KABAMBE, the CEO of PPPC. Until next time, goodbye.
Introducing MEAP payment by installment offer. Electricity Supply Corporation of Malawi, ESCOM Limited, is committed to making electricity access more affordable and convenient to all our customers. We are therefore excited to